Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Factorio Masochists Marathon. So, last episode we were just setting up these copper outposts here, and in the recording I did hover over that for quite a little while, because it's basically the premise of what I wanted to talk about this episode. It's kind of a confession, although more of a realization, which is then followed by a confession, obviously, from that realization. But yeah, this episode we will be setting up productivity science, not really because I need it, basically because I want it to be the next thing on the bus before I start building anything else like robots. Also, it's going to be our main supply of engines for robots anyway, but we'll go into that later on. So this episode I wanted to start off and get this out straight away. I've kind of had a bit of an inkling in the back of my head about the pollution in this game. I've kind of occasionally noticed it's a bit quiet, and I'm thinking, well, that's maybe because I'm keeping things at a massive minimum to not create too much pollution, even though we did set the pollution settings for the trees to be very weak and the diffusion ratio to be very high, so it diffuses into other chunks very easily. But one setting I did not really think very much about when I started this game, and I really wish I had. Thinking back now and starting a new series, I should have been way more serious about it, and I should have put a lot more thought into it. So basically, the dissipation setting. I put this up at the start of the game thinking that it's going to make it harder. I didn't really read the settings for the dissipation, or I did, and I didn't quite understand them. And basically, we put dissipation up ridiculously high to 75, and I've just, realized the inkling's sort of bothering me quite a bit, why we haven't got very much pollution and how I'm getting away with this. So I went and did a bit of research, and I've realized I've made a massive boo-boo. I've derped badly. I've really cocked up, and I feel really upset about this because I feel like I've kind of not lived by the masochist code, and I feel like I've kind of misled people a little bit, or even misled myself. So basically, we put the dissipation setting stupidly high. I think we put it onto 74, 75. What this basically means is how much pollution is naturally dissipating in that chunk. So how much is being absorbed, how much is dissipating, basically. And I'm not the brightest person when it comes to certain words, and I kind of didn't really think about what this setting meant. I mean, it's probably going to be really obvious to most people, and I've made the game very easy with the death world settings. If I'd have set this to 1, which is the default of a game before these settings came in, I believe, we would be being attacked constantly. Our pollution clouds would be way bigger, because in my test sandpit map, the pollution settings are just normal, and a lot of these layouts I test out on there, and the pollution is way worse. So I feel really upset about this discovery. I feel like I'm playing on really easy settings. We've got the poor richness settings, which means outposts aren't going to last very long, and I'm having to work on that quite a lot. We've got a full-on death world setting, so to get more resources, I'm having to clear through thick red seas of biters. But the pollution is just not there. It's tiny. I mean, we looked on the map at the start. I think we look at the map again, but the pollution clouds are virtually non-existent, unless we really push it, and then the diffusion starts to push it out into other chunks. But I'm really upset at this, so I have had a quick Google to see if I can change this setting after a game has been started. I can't find anything definitive, but I'm sure there must be something I can edit in a save game, or a command I can run to set the dissipation. I'm even getting confused between diffusion and dissipation again, but set the dissipation back to 1. I did see a post about it in general where someone said you should be able to turn it down from 1 to make it harder, because currently you can only make it easier. That's the post where I realized just how badly I've cocked up on the game settings. So I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to make this back up to everyone. I'm really sorry. I feel quite upset about this. I'm probably going to moan about it quite a lot in the episode. Anyone who knows me knows that when something really annoys me like this, or I lose something I really like, I do moan about it quite a bit, but I will try to keep it relevant. But yes, if I can change this, I'm willing to do it. I'm going to go for it. It means a lot of our outposts are probably just going to get trashed, but I don't care. That's the premise of this game. It's meant to be stupidly hard for me, and I'm meant to suffer. So yeah, if anyone has any suggestions on where I can look, or even what the command is that I can run, I did do a few Google searches. I can't find anything. I'm not clever enough to know how to do it off the top of my head. but I would really appreciate it if we can get back on the masochist train in terms of pollution, because that was one of the really exciting things about this playthrough, was having ridiculous pollution settings for trees. So the trees die really easily from pollution, and they absorb hardly nothing once they're dead. So that was the idea. And without the pollution actually getting out there with the diffusion, the diffusion doesn't really take effect if it's just going to dissipate so much in a chunk. I mean, 74, 75 from 1 is just absurd. Like, it's pretty much how I've managed to get away with this so far. This game would have been quite different. I know it's a bit late now, and even if I do switch it on, I'm already set up and I'm doing really well. But I swear, next, I want to do another masochist style series at some point, which will have masochist in the name, and I'll make sure that is truly masochistic compared to this. But yeah, I'm willing to try and make it up, even though now I'm established on the map, and it's kind of not the same, but you know, I'm willing to change. Anyway, enough rambling about that. I'm sure I'll get onto it again in a bit. I changed research at the start of the episode from laser turret damage. We will get on with that in a bit, but I want to try and get on with the startings of nuclear power. At least want to get an outpost set up and get some refining going, so we can try and get enough 235 for the Kovacs process. So we've done the concrete, which was required for the nuclear power research, and we get on with that. We get on with the nuclear power research. So hopefully soon we can get on with doing some of that. I don't know how long it's going to take, because blue science is a little bit slow with the lack of iron getting through to miners still. I mean, it is a bit quicker than it was, so hopefully we won't have to wait too long. But yeah, at the same time, the high-tech science packs will still build up for the turret damage, because we're not using them for nuclear power. So essentially, we're still doing turret damage at the same kind of rate. So we got most of the stuff set up for electric furnaces and level 1 assemblers for the production science, but we need stone brick smelting set up. So we go up to 10 times speed to get that all done, because it's not that exciting. You've seen most of it before, but I kind of want to keep it in the episode, hence the times 10 speed. And yeah, I'm started using this quite a bit, because I think it's a nice little compromise compared to just editing something out. So we still get to see the game footage, but it's nice and quick, so you don't have to watch it too much. So we get this all laid out, and we get it down onto the bus. It does take me a minute just to work out which row it needs to go on the bus. But we get that all in and get that fed down to the furnace production. So we almost have everything we need for the productivity science. Just need to set up the electronic engines now, which I lay it in such a way that can have twice as much as we need for productivity science, because I don't see the point in laying it out a second time for robots. So we're going to have it in its own row, where again it'll split off sort of onto the bus. I may just do robots straight away next, so it doesn't have to go all the way onto its own row. It can just hop over where it is now, and then we can use it to start producing some logistics robots and construction robots. Now, I need to do the research for that, and that's something I'm realizing with other settings in this game, where we've got the times for technology as well as the expensive recipes. It's taking us a long time to do any kind of research. So once we've got this done, once we've got nuclear power done, we can work on doing some refining there. But I think I'm going to work towards doing some research for robots. We'll finish the laser turret damage next, probably whilst we're doing the nuclear stuff. But yeah, I really need to at least get enough stuff coming into the factory to justify the ratios that we've been doing science at, because apart from red and green, none of the sciences will actually be able to run at the 1 science pack per second or 1 science cycle per second, because all the new sciences produce 2 science packs per cycle. Hence why red and green has doubled up, and everything else is set to 1 per second. So I need to start doing something about that, getting the right amount of stuff coming in. So for high-tech science packs, the shortage is green circuits for the processing units. So I think very soon I'm going to set up an outpost solely for creating green circuits, and then we can just bring those into the factory. It's going to be the first of the outposts. Hopefully in the future it's not going to be used on the main bus at all, or maybe I'll set up a second one when we start going to the outpost style. But before I start going to the outpost style, I've said this before, I need to clear enough area to actually do it and get enough resources. So at the meantime, I need to work on getting the main bus at least working at full speed, because at the moment it's pretty pathetic, the amount of high-tech science packs coming through. I think productivity should be all right. We do need more steel for the electronic furnaces, And we also need more bricks as well. I don't think we're not mining enough stone to keep the brick column going. We do get an attack down in the southeast. I still need to go and sort that out. But because it's not pollution attacks, it's caravans. They're not really that fussed, but they are oddly frequent. So yeah, I'm going to set up a green circuit outpost soon, get those brought in. I may still keep making some green circuits on the bus just to feed one yellow belt and then get enough for 3 or 4 yellow belts made somewhere and get that in here so we can try and get that high tack sped up. But yeah, I'm going to be spending a lot of time clearing biters soon, which will be done with the heavily edited style, which does mean it takes me a lot longer to make an episode. I think there was like an hour and 40 minutes, maybe 2 hours worth of footage in this episode because, of course, we keep jumping to 10 times speed just to get these bits over and done with. This bit is for getting the lube in. So I produced a load of underground pipes at some point whilst this episode was building up, and we come and shove the lube in onto the bus here. We are going to need it for some blue belts, so we'll get a proper belt production array set up when we can actually justify it. If I had to do that right now, all our iron would just absolutely disappear. I also mess around here swapping the belts over because I want the assembly machine ones and electronic furnaces to be handed in by the closer inserter, and it doesn't really matter there because it's long-handed and the basic inserters are probably the same speed, I believe, so it doesn't really matter, but it just makes me happy, and that's what this game's about. I'm not going to go on that rant again, don't worry. Anyway, we make a horrible job of hooking up all the iron at the end of the bus there, but I don't think it really matters at the moment. I will tidy that up at some point when it actually matters, but as you can see, the trickle of iron coming through right now is pretty crap, so yeah, I still need to work on that. I think I'm going to get some more iron outposts set up, get some more smelting so we can get this bus up to a respectable amount of iron coming through. But yeah, well, I don't really know what I'm going to do next episode. I haven't quite decided yet. It depends on when nuclear power's finished, because I do want to set the refining up at least, but that's only going to take like 5-10 minutes, and at 3 times speed that's like 2 or 3 minutes of footage. Anyway, we get the 200k award for iron plates, which is nice. It just shows we are smelting them a little bit faster. But I realized this area down here has no power. Now, just before I started recording, I did set up a 4th section of green circuit production just to speed that up. I also noticed some basic poles running down to the south, and I took out, and I didn't realize that was powering that whole south bit. But it's kind of good because it really needs to be powered off the rail system. Anyway, and the next bit of the episode, we do a bit of maintenance. I want to do it this episode, so the start of next episode, I don't really have to do any caretaking. We can just get on with it, but I spend quite a bit of time laying out the miners again and again just to speed that up as much as we can. And we keep bringing the train in to take all the resources away. I just keep forgetting there's a 30-second timer on it, which kind of annoys me. So I eventually realise and get that taken off just so we can get the rest of the copper taken away. We clear up the last of the miners. It's all mined up. We just need to take away the contents of the chest. There is a cut there because I had to save and take a little bit of a break due to how long it was taking. I leave turrets in here as well to stop any expansion into the area south of the bus. We need to keep some respectable amount of area without any expansion happening. And we finally get rid of the last of the copper, and copper outpost 1 is no more. It's gone. First of the copper outposts to go, but we'll keep a record of that by keeping the numbers of the stations going up and at least remembering the numbers. We come down and do a bit of cleaning up of the coal and expanding of the miners. Also taking out that base that was causing almost perpetual attacks. It would take a break occasionally, but then pollution would cause another attack and the cycle would begin again. We take the coal train back up to the depot and hop into an iron train. I need to go to both iron outposts, so I wasn't really bothered which one it was. And we get the number of miners up here expanded massively because iron outpost 2, I think it is dying fairly rapidly. So we take this train back to the depot with the idea of getting over to iron 2, which was the other one I wanted to check out. And there's quite a few miners depleted here, so it's good we've expanded that area because the rate coming in from here is going to be pretty low now. And we claim a load of belts from this area, which are no longer needed. We also spend a little bit of time up here just rearranging the defences, but I don't know why now because this area isn't going to last much longer. But I do notice I forgot to hook up those top miners there, so they're probably going to be the last ones in the outpost before this place dies. But yeah, I moved these turrets up a little bit. Again, don't really know why because, yeah, the pollution here is going to lessen. Unless, of course, we get to fix the dissipation rate, which I hope we do because, yeah, I kind of feel like I've got away with murder a bit. and I'm a bit frustrated. I honestly didn't know about it. It kind of seems ideal now that I only go and notice when, you know, we're nice and established, but I'm willing to put it back to 1. I really want to. I just need to know how. Clear up a few bases that are making me nervous. I know they're probably going to pop back up again, but at least they're gone for now. And then when we eventually get a full 360-degree perimeter, we won't have to worry about these things. So then we get on with clearing up a few bases around the uranium patch up here, because this is the patch I want to tap first. There is another one over in the northeast, but this one's a really nice patch. I can't remember how much is in it exactly, but there is loads. It's going to take us a while to mine it all, but I do need to clear some biters out of the area and get some proper defenses in. These are probably the best outpost defenses I put in, just in case we do get to put the dissipation back up. We've got some lovely defenses in for this one, and we won't have to worry about uranium getting done in. I probably won't bother with Iron Outpost 2 because that's going to be depleted probably in the next couple of episodes. So we've got some wall in, and I just repair some damaged turrets I had on me. There is a cut here because, again, I had to go and save. But yeah, now we get on with the last part of the episode, which is setting up the first uranium outpost. So clear anything in the way of miners. I was partly thinking of covering the whole thing in one go, but I end up only doing about half because, you know, we run out of time, sort of. Well, I ran out of time of recording. I have to balance how much I'm recording and editing. But with this new editing style, with these times 10 bits and the cuts, there are a couple of cuts in the episode I didn't mention where I just go around and clear up some biter bases. There was a huge one down in the south of Oil 1, which I didn't actually keep in. I was going to do that sped up, but when we fixed the power down there, I just went and cleared it out, and I think I just cut it out in editing rather than did it sped up. But there will be some bits like that occasionally, and we have our first kind of train jam. There's not enough signals in around here, so that train was sat there for the whole section. I also realised there's no exit of the fluids bit or the uranium and oil bit to go in the other direction, because we're going to need that for uranium, so we get that in as well. Could probably do with a few more signals just to prevent any locking up. Signals and rails are something I'm going to have to really upgrade late game when we have loads of outposts. I'm probably going to have to go above the one rail going each way, but I've never got that big, never had to require that amount of throughput, but when we do need it, I will put it in place. Hopefully we've got enough space to shoehorn it all in, but we'll see. Anyway, we come down and collect a few more miners, a few more bits of resources, just to make sure we've got enough to do everything I want to do. We grab a load of pipes because we're going to have to get some sulfuric acid into the train and out at the outpost, and I want to put the Madzuri loading in at the uranium just because I really like it, and I feel like I want to have it in everywhere now just because it's great. I love it. Anyway, enough ranting about that. We come and get the sulfuric acid piped up to the uranium depot. So this is going to be where sulfuric acid comes in, and the area to the west of here is going to be where we do all our uranium processing, where we do all of our nuclear power basically. So it's where we'll have the reactors and the heat exchangers and everything like that. I still haven't had a play around on my test map with ratios and stuff. I kind of want to come up with my own design. I just need to know the ratios. Apparently there's a bonus for having reactors next to each other, so I want to come up with a design that's nice and efficient. I did see Bentham's layout in his rail world. I really do like that layout, so I want to do something maybe similar to that. I don't know. I need to sit down and have a play with it really before I start looking at other people's designs, because otherwise I'm just going to go and be inspired by them, with the invisible quotation marks there. So anyway, we've got some sulfuric acid in the train. I don't know why, I just pick a value of 5k for everything. So we stick a tank in, and we'll just say enable whenever there's less than 5k, just to make sure there's always some here while the train's away. Again, I've never really played with mining to much extent, so I don't know how much the miners actually store, and how much they need, the ratios of how much to fill 3 carriages to 1 fluid wagon. I'm only using one section of the fluid wagon right now because that's essentially the size of a whole storage tank, which is absolutely loads. I don't really want 3 storage tanks worth sat in a wagon. There's no real point to it, so the train will always just top up. I've set the train to leave the depot when it's empty and there's at least 5k in the wagon. So I don't know if 5k is going to be enough. That's just what I'm sticking to at the moment. Yes, I could probably put these miners all next together, but I'm so in love with the basic pole ratio layout that I'm just going to stick little bits of pipe in, which I actually forget to do straight away, but we do get them in a little bit, but we get the basic mining functionality running, just so we can get some uranium going. So we get this all hooked up with at least the number of belts that I know we're going to need to cover a whole patch. So that's generally how I like to lay an outpost out. How wide is it in terms of the station, and how big is the balancer going to need to be? In this case, it's going to be a 5-to-3 balancer. So we get the inputs for the train set up using wooden chests right now, because I don't really care that I'm not using iron chests at the moment. It doesn't really matter. Wooden chests will do. The ratios aren't really high enough to justify iron chests. I guess that's what it comes down to in my head. It's all about throughput for me in Factorio, but we get our 5-to-3 balancer laid out, which is a bit of a monstrosity. Plus it has these looped bits, which I don't really trust. I don't really think it's going to balance the belts out very well. I think it's going to be a bit biased about the middle belt, but to be honest, we're putting in the Matsuri train loader, so that doesn't really matter. This will keep it all equal anyway, just so long as the throughput is roughly the same for all 3 carriages. So I saw a post recently about buffering stuff everywhere, and I don't like buffering. I used to do it when I first started playing, but then when I realized Factorio is about throughput, not about buffering, all buffering really does is mask where the bottlenecks are and where your throughput is failing. So that's how I see this game. It's all about looking at throughput. Where's your smallest bottleneck, and how can you improve it? Anyway, enough ranting about that. I'm sure everyone just plays the game exactly how they want. They get those little bits of pipes left in, and it's almost all running. I also miss one little bit of belt, can see backing up there, but we'll get that fixed as well. So we've got some uranium for as soon as nuclear power research is finished. After that, I do want to get some robots set up. I really want a personal roboport and some power armor, just to really speed some of the building up. Please do leave me some feedback in the comments about the whole dissipation thing. I am truly sorry. But that's going to be all we have time for this episode. I do hope you have enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and please do come and join me in the next episode. Bye-bye.